It's possible that the extent of this singer's abilities and achievements is still underappreciated because he didn't have as much of an impact on the pop audience as Motown singers did. If we look only at his documents, there is a great deal of legacy left by this man. He recorded some of the best soul vocal group songs of the 1960s while leading the Impressions. He helped create funk and infuse soul music with biting urban satire throughout his solo career in the 1970s. The centerpiece of today's video is all about Curtis Mayfield. Now before we start, let's be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and push that notification bell to be sure you won't miss out on any more content. Now, without further ado, let's cue that intro. Curtis Lee Mayfield was born on June 3, 1942, in Chicago, Illinois, the son of Marion Washington and Kenneth Mayfield. Mayfield's father left the family when Curtis was 5. His mother and maternal grandmother moved the family into several Chicago public housing projects before settling in Cabrini Green during his teen years. His mother taught him piano and, along with his grandmother, encouraged him to enjoy gospel music. At the age of 7, he sang publicly at his aunt's church with the Northern Jubilee Gospel Singers. Mayfield received his first guitar when he was 10, later recalling that he loved his guitar so much he used to sleep with it. He was a self-taught musician, and he grew up admiring blues singer Muddy Waters and Spanish guitarist Andres Segovia. Mayfield attended Wells Community Academy High School before dropping out his sophomore year. When he was 14 years old, he formed the Alphatones when the Northern Jubilee Gospel Singers decided to try their luck in downtown Chicago, and Mayfield stayed behind. Fellow group member Sam Gooden was quoted, "It would have been nice to have him there with us, but of course your parents have the first say." Later in 1956, he joined his high school friend Jerry Butler's group The Roosters with brothers Arthur and Richard Brooks. He wrote and composed songs for this group, who would become the Impressions 2 years later. The band had 2 hit singles with Butler, "For Your Precious Love"
They say that our love won't grow, but
and "Come Back My Love." Then Butler left.
till the day you come.
Mayfield temporarily went with him, co-writing and performing on Butler's next hit, "He Will Break Your Heart," before returning to the Impressions with the group signing for ABC Records and working with the label's Chicago-based producer, A&R manager Johnny Pate. Butler was replaced by Fred Cash, a returning original Roosters member, and Mayfield became lead singer, frequently composing for the band, starting with Gypsy Woman, a top 20 pop hit.
All through the caravan, she was dancing.
Amen, a top 10.
Amen, amen,
Hallelujah.
amen.
And an updated version of an old gospel tune was included in the soundtrack of the 1963 United Artists film Lilies of the Field. The Impressions reached the height of their popularity in the mid to late 60s with a string of Mayfield compositions that included Keep On Pushing,
With just a little bit of soul.
People Get Ready,
The train to Jordan, picking up passing,
It's Alright,
and everybody knows that it's alright. Whoa, it's alright.
Talking About My Baby,
Yeah, yeah. Everybody say yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody's
and Woman's Got Soul.
to have soul. And then I'm richer than the
Mayfield formed his own label, Curtin Records, in Chicago in 1968, and the Impressions joined him to continue their run of hits, including Fool for You.
and I claim it famously, 'cause I'm a fool for you.
This Is My Country, Choice of Colors,
It's coming.
for you and for me with just a look.
And check out your mind.
It's not against the law. Why don't you check out your mind?
Mayfield had written much of the soundtrack of the civil rights movement in the early 1960s, but by the end of the decade, he was a pioneering voice in the Black Pride movement along with James Brown and Sly Stone. Mayfield's We're a Winner was their last major hit for ABC.
Lord have mercy, we're moving on up. Moving on up. Woo.
Reaching number 14 on Billboard's pop chart and number 1 on the R&B chart, it became an anthem of the Black Power and Black Pride movements when it was released in late 1967, much as his earlier Keep On Pushing. It had been an anthem for Martin Luther King Jr. and the civil rights movement. Mayfield was a prolific songwriter in Chicago even outside his work for the Impressions, writing and producing scores of hits for many other artists. He also owned the Mayfield and Wendy C labels, which were distributed by Cameo Parkway, and was a partner in the Curtin and Thomas labels. Among Mayfield's greatest songwriting successes were 3 hits that he wrote for Jerry Butler on VJ with the songs He Will Break Your Heart, Find Another Girl, and I'm telling you, his harmony vocals are very prominent. He also had great success writing and arranging Jan Bradley's Mama Didn't Lie. Starting in 1963, he was heavily involved in writing and arranging for OK Records with Carl Davis producing, which included hits by major lands such as In the Monkey Time, as well as writing songs for Walter Jackson, Billy Butler, and the Artistics. In 1970, Mayfield left the Impressions and began a solo career. Curtin released many of Mayfield's 1970s records. Mayfield's first solo album, Curtis, was released in 1970 and hit the top 20, as well as being a critical success. It predated Marvin Gaye's album, What's Going On, to which it has been compared in addressing social change. The commercial and critical peak of his solo career came with Superfly, the soundtrack to the blaxploitation Superfly film, which topped the Billboard Top LPs chart and sold more than 12 million copies. Unlike the soundtracks to other blaxploitation films, which glorified the ghetto excesses of the characters, Mayfield's lyrics consisted of hard-hitting commentary on the state of affairs in black, urban ghettos at the time, as well as direct criticisms of several characters in the film. Because of the tendency of these blaxploitation films to glorify the criminal life of dealers and pimps to target a mostly black lower-class audience, Mayfield's album set this movie apart. With songs like Freddie's Dead, a song that focuses on the demise of Freddie, a junkie that was forced into pushing dope for the man. Because of a debt that he owed to his dealer, and Pusherman, a song that reveals how many people in the ghetto fell victim to drug abuse and therefore became dependent upon their dealers. Mayfield illuminated a darker side of life in the ghetto that these blaxploitation films often fail to criticize. However, although Mayfield's soundtrack criticized the glorification of dealers and pimps, he in no way denied that this glorification was occurring. When asked about the subject matter of these films, he was quoted stating, "I don't see why people are complaining about the subject of these films, and the way you clean up the films is by cleaning up the streets." Along with What's Going On and Stevie Wonder's Intervisions, this album ushered in a new socially conscious, funky style of popular soul music. Superfly brought success that resulted in Mayfield being tapped for additional soundtracks, some of which he wrote and produced while having others perform the vocals. Gladys Knight and the Pips recorded Mayfield's soundtrack for Claudine in 1974, while Aretha Franklin recorded the soundtrack for Sparkle in 1976. Mayfield also worked with the Staples Singers on the soundtrack for the 1975 film Let's Do It Again, and teamed up with Mavis Staples exclusively on the 1977 film soundtrack A Piece of the Action. In 1973, Mayfield released the anti-war album Back to the World, a concept album that dealt with the social aftermath of the Vietnam War and criticized the United States' involvement in wars across the planet. One of Mayfield's most successful funk disco meldings was the 1977 hit Do Do Wop It Strong in Here from his soundtrack to the Robert M. Young film of Miguel Pinero's play Short Eyes. In his 2003 biography of Curtis Mayfield, People Never Give Up, author Peter Burns noted that Mayfield has 140 songs in the Curtin vaults. Burns indicated that the songs were maybe already completed or in the stages of completion so that they could then be released commercially. These recordings include The Great Escape and The News, Turn Up the Radio, What's the Situation, and one recording labeled Curtis at Montreux Jazz Festival 87. Two other albums featuring Curtis Mayfield present in the Curtin vaults and as yet unissued are a 1982 and 1983 live recording titled 25th Silver Anniversary, which features performances by Mayfield, The Impressions, and Jerry Butler in a live performance recorded in September 1966 by The Impressions titled Live at the Club Chicago. In 1982, Mayfield decided to move to Atlanta with his family, closing down his recording operation in Chicago. The label had gradually reduced in size in its final 2 years or so, with releases on the main RSO imprint and Curtin credited as the production company. Mayfield continued to record occasionally, keeping the Curtin name alive for a few more years and to tour worldwide. Mayfield's song, Don't Worry If There's a Hell Below, We're All Going to Go, has been included as an entrance song on every episode of the drama series The Deuce.
And Nixon talking about don't worry.
By the 1980s, Mayfield's career began to slow down. In later years, Mayfield's music was included in the movies I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, Hollywood Shuffle, and The Hangover Part 2. At an outdoor concert at Wingate Field in Flatbush on August 13th, 1990, Mayfield was being introduced when stage lighting equipment collapsed on him, paralyzing him from the neck down. Later, while lying on his back in the recording studio, he delivered the second verse of a rendition of Let's Do It Again that was being produced by Gary Katz for All Men Are Brothers, a tribute to Curtis Mayfield. Despite his incapacity to play the guitar, he persisted in writing and singing, discovering that he could accomplish this by reclining and allowing gravity to exert pressure on his lungs and chest. This method of recording was used for the 1996 album New World Order, when the vocals were occasionally recorded one line at a time. His diabetes required the amputation of his right leg in February 1998. Mayfield passed away on December 26, 1999 at North Fulton Regional Hospital in Roswell, Georgia from complications related to type 2 diabetes. He was survived by his mother, 2 sisters, his brother, 10 children, his wife, and 7 grandchildren. Mayfield was among the first of a new wave of mainstream black R&B performing artists and composers injecting social commentary into their work. This message music proved immensely popular during the 1960s and 1970s. Mayfield taught himself how to play guitar, tuning it to the black keys of the piano, giving the guitar an open F-sharp tuning that he used throughout his career. He primarily sang in falsetto registers. His guitar playing, singing, and socially aware songwriting influenced a range of artists, including Jimi Hendrix, Bob Marley, Tracy Chapman, Sly Stone, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder. In 2017, it was reported that Lionel Richie had secured the rights to produce a biographical film about Mayfield. Richie said, "I'm so grateful to be working closely with Altai and Mayfield, Shea Mayfield and the Curtis Mayfield estate, and couldn't be happier to be moving forward on this amazing project about a one-of-a-kind music genius." In 1991, along with his group The Impressions, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and in 1999, Mayfield was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a solo artist, making him one of the few artists to become double inductees. That same year, Mayfield was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame just prior to his death. In 2003, Mayfield was posthumously inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame as a member of the Impressions. Mayfield was nominated for 8 Grammy Awards during his career. He is a winner of the prestigious Grammy Legend Award and Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, before we go, I have a question for you all. What is your favorite song or song that was written by Curtis Mayfield?